Hey, Rani here, and can you believe it? I have somehow re-established my vocal submarines. Oh, I don't practice them very often. Subroutines. So, just booted this back up to see where we're up to, and the first thing it did was the good old freeze again. So as we can see here, the timer system is definitely still running because the curtains run off it. And it worked all the way through the cutscene, but then we got to this specific spot and it froze here again. So I want to see if I can figure out kind of exactly what's going on here. If I can get this fixed today, I'll be pretty happy. Now, if we can get past this, get up to the rooftop, I want to see if I can try and build kind of like a city map that kind of like opens up on the rooftop, which is going to be like the menu from which you pick a scenario. This is Escape from New York. I believe this is done with reflective tape, which is just ingenious. Anyway, so something I have been considering is I started making this kind of like migration over to a data structure system where I had kind of like a reusable like index pool and queue that were kind of being used for, see, I've to-do it is obsolete. And I did use this in some places, and this ended up quite complicated, and it's possible that there's some kind of bug in here. But I kind of doubt it, because I would expect it to affect a lot more than this. Let's see here. Yeah, I wouldn't expect it to be in like the central kind of component or entity system because that ties into so many things. But then again, most of those things aren't being created and destroyed continuously, are they? Only really timers, and I think the image components for menus are, and dialog boxes. But again, those seem to be working. So like they're working perfectly reliably. They're creating and destroying nicely. So let's have a look at the timer component, see if something really pops out about it, because it might do. Might do. So when we're creating a new timer, we basically go through the list of all the timers and we try and find one that isn't currently running. And we determine it's not currently running by the fact that it has 0 frames of time left on it. Simple enough. Simple enough. And when we're deleting, the way we do it is we basically just, again, we just say, has no more frames. What do you want? So if there is an issue in here, it must be in this loop here where we're going through and we're advancing timer state. So we pull out the number of, for each timer, we pull out the number of frames it has left. And if it has at least 1 frame, we then count down, right? Then if there's an advanced component, that is advanced callback, that is something that happens every frame, we execute that. And only if it's then run out do we then do all this. Now I have just spotted a potential bug here, but it is only a potential bug in that it is feasible. It's not something that's going to happen in this particular scenario, but it's entirely possible that calling this actually destroys the timer we're currently iterating over. Like, likelihood of that happening is basically 0 because advanced callbacks are just like advanced animation. They're not really to create and destroy things generally. But it is possible. So I am actually going to put a little fix in here for that potential situation just in case it ever happens. So if we execute the advanced callback and then we find that we no longer have, oh, that's just gonna be, that can happen too, right? Yeah. Oh, I think I know what's happening. I know what's happening. I've just seen it. I've just seen it. Right. It's actually this exact same bug, but here. So if we run the advanced callback and the timer no longer exists, then just move on to the next timer. But But, it's entirely possible the timer that we're currently processing could also be deleted in the same frame. That's kind of annoying, isn't it? So, do I have this globally anywhere? How am I going to handle this? Oh dear. All right, so all I really need, I can get rid of this here. No, I can't. Basically, I need some kind of mechanism for this loop to not... So what's actually happening here, the reason it's happening on this particular animation frame and no others, is that that frame, if I go through to the introduction script, is kind of special in that... Where is it? Here we go. We are actually destroying the component, which I think... Yes, okay. So we're creating the timer and we're attaching it to the protagonist. And then we're actually destroying the protagonist and with them, their timer. Yeah? Now what's happening as a result of that, and it's only happening sometimes, it depends on how the timer key lines up. Right? This destroys the timer while we're in this callback, right? And then this destroys whatever happens to have taken the same slot as the timer. So we need to detect exactly when destroying a timer has when the destruction of a timer has occurred. Now, the simplest way to do this, they're kind of like the cheekiest, dumbest way to do this, is I'm just going to put a flag in here. And if the index we're destroying happens to be where we are in the iteration, then we've destroyed the current. Simple enough. Now, before we call this, we need to reset this to false. And then if we've destroyed the current, skip to the next one. Okay. And if we haven't destroyed the current, when we're executing the final callback, yeah, okay, so if we've destroyed the timer, fly back around. If we've destroyed the time, if we've not destroyed the timer, then destroy it. Okay, and that needs to remain greater than, because we're not going to execute the same slot again. Okay, we can probably get rid of this comment. Let's see if that fixed anything. Oh, I've still got this undefined symbol from last time. We'll figure that out. But for now, I want to see if that fixes the timer system. If it does, that makes me pretty happy. I was thinking that would take me way longer than 9 minutes. Okay, so this is saying it can't find a mesh. Why not? Let's have a look. So we do have a runes rooftop.obj. What's the model called? There's nothing in this file. Ha! Well, that that'll be why it couldn't find any. That'll be why it couldn't find the mesh, because it's just not there for some reason. Okay, let's try exporting it again. Maybe I didn't pick the right preset for the exporter. Still nothing there. Ah, I've got it set to not render. That'll be why. There we go. Now we've got some geometry we can render. Let's build that, see where we end up. Ah, have I called it something stupid? Unexpected period in object state 47. I think that's the material name. Yes, it is. So yeah. On the one hand, it's a bug that it, you know, crashes on encountering a character when that's, you know, not alphanumeric. On the other hand, how would I turn that kind of name into a variable anyway? Come on, you can do it. Okay, it built. Let's see if it gets stuck in the same place. Now remember, it didn't do it every time, but it generally did it. It's kind of surprising. Oh! Oh, well, I've broken something else. Very good. Very good. What have I broken? Ah! I haven't done that. Oh, wait. That's meant to go before the callback, not after it. Right, so now we'll know if we still need to delete the timer component. So what happened then? It didn't actually delete the timer component and executed it probably once a frame. Okay, come on. Let's see it. I would like to animate him kind of moving to that corner eventually. Okay. So it's a bit weird. This guy appears to shrink when he lowers himself to the ground, and I think I know why it is. I think he's actually getting slightly further away. Hey, it worked! And now we're on the rooftop. There was a flicker. I want to see if I can fix that. Now we're on the rooftop, and let's position our camera. Ah, yeah. Oh, yeah. I positioned it like way up, didn't I? Because I wanted it over the apartment in the editor. Let's export that again. I haven't yet implemented the save state functionality, but that's something I should probably do soon, as it's going to start costing me time not to implement it. Yeah. Maybe I should move him back a bit, just so you don't get the impression he's bigger than he actually is. A bit of a drop shadow would probably help a bit. Yeah, that timer's working consistently now. And now we're on the rooftop, and you can see the massive seams around everything. I should fix that, shouldn't I? Alright, I'm probably going to want to find a different camera angle though. Let's fix all these seams. This shouldn't take long. It's basically a matter of just extending all these down by a pixel so that they don't have any kind of free space around them. And making sure you don't forget which ones you have extended. I wonder if Facespray has a UV padding tool. I don't think it gets used for models very often, but it would be very useful if it did have one. It has a lot of very useful features, so it probably does have one somewhere. Okay, getting there. It's probably a much faster way of doing what I'm doing right now. But we don't have too many tiles, so I'm not super worried. Almost there. I've got many that way. Oh, I've got a few that way. I'll sort those out afterwards. It should fix all the cracks in the model. Again, I could probably spend like, you know, days fixing my triangle rasterizer, but yeah. This geometry will work in any engine. Let's do the edge of this at the same time, actually. All right, and then let's do our final few columns over here. extend them a bit. Almost there. Man, UV padding by hand is a pain in the ass. You can see why people invent tools to do this, especially on like massive production scales. Okay. What am I doing next? I might keep this camera angle just for like the sort of like, you know, intro cutscene. You kind of flies over the edge and sort of sets down, and then kind of move it up a bit so you're kind of looking over the map. I'm just going to commit this fix to the timer system, as that's a big win. Okay. Yeah. Next thing I need to do is make it so the host can do state saves. So I was thinking about a few ways of doing this. Ideally, I'm looking to completely eliminate any exports of functions from the host to the client. I want it to be very kind of sort of self-contained and almost kind of deterministic, I guess. And the way I was looking to do that was, in this case, because it's API, in the advanced method, maybe just, at the moment it returns void, maybe I can just return some flags indicating, you know, whether there's things like state to read and things like that. So I'm just going to do that here. Let's just export a flag here. So we should have this this bool. It's going to get returned when it advances state, but also the application is going to be able to set it from anywhere to say to true to say on the end of the next advance save the state. Okay, and then we have to define here. It's a bit weird having basically like a variable inside the file here that the file itself has basically nothing else to do with. This is not going to be used in here, it's going to be used entirely with an advance, but whatever, I guess. So state.h. Oh yeah, we should also document what this returns as well. How am I going to describe this? Flags indicating any special circumstances regarding the advance. And I'm just going to indicate this bit flags. One, state should be saved. And then we're going to return unsigned. Right, so I actually need to take a copy of the flag. Because I need to reset it before I return. I can't really do both at the same time. That will do. All right, but this is going to need some, oh yeah, I did. I didn't actually specify a type for the variable. Oops. Yeah, this is going to require some feature support in the runtime. Let's go down to, where is it, script, here it is. This is meant to, yeah, save state. Right, so if we then go through to the, I think I've just got a big HTML file. Yeah, this the actual runtime that loads in the wasm module and executes it, it's a massive stack of hacks. It's basically just this big HTML file with a big heap of JavaScript in it, because that's the whole thing. It's like, it's just under 500 lines long. It doesn't need to be particularly robust or complex. It's literally just loading a wasm module and putting whatever it produces on the screen, pretty much. So where's the bit in here where I actually call into this? Here it is. And I'm going to guess I don't call into this from anywhere else, do I? No, that's good. So we need to check the flags that came back. If they're 0, then nothing to do. And if they're 1, for now we'll just make it log that needs to save changes. And if it's anything else, then we probably don't support that. So just log it out so we can see what happened. Right, and I need to run a separate bit of script to actually turn this into a, because this actually gets built into an executable. Well, not an executable. It gets compiled anyway. It's in the web runtime. Was it that? It's been a while. Hey, it seems to have been that. That's good. Okay, so if I get the console open and I proceed to the... Oh, it actually hit one straight away. Ah, I know why it did. I know why it did that. See, I actually caught the bug by checking that straight off. The reason is when you actually execute a script, it actually starts it saving right away. So I'm actually, as a special case, going to go into here and turn it back off. Bit of a hack. Oops, I put that in the wrong place. Yeah, you'd normally want it to save every time, but not that time. So yeah, it's no longer saving. So next up, we need to go to that big HTML file again, and we need to, I think I do pull out the state buffers in here. Do I? Yeah, I do, there they are. So the way this works is that you're able to retrieve a big stack of pointers to memory that should be saved. So you've got the number of state buffers, you've got the size of each one, you've got a unique identifier for each one, and then pointers to where you can find them. Right. Why have I multiplied that by 4? I don't know why I've multiplied that by 4. Oh, wait, that's the size, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, okay, so yeah, that makes sense. Does that mean we're always assuming that a pointer is going to be exactly 4 bytes? That doesn't seem right. Let me just check something. Oh. Oh, you have both 32 and 64-bit pointers in WebAssembly. Do you? Hang on, let me get this annoying thing out of the way of AI. Oh, that's about numbers. I'm just actually I wonder if there's somewhere where I can get the pointer size. Don't know. Anyway, we can probably. I think I had a thing in here. Yeah, I have a constructor thing. Ah, right. So this is way out of date. Yeah, this is way out of date. This is like from a really, because I changed how these I got these helpers like say get pointers out and things like that, and I restructured them so you could actually get a you could give them kind of like a typed array and they turn it into that typed array. So that's a unsigned 32-bit integer array. There we go. So next up, we should be able to then access all of that information. Oh, one other thing I'm just going to do first is I've lost that pointers list. Where is it? Oh no, there it is. I'm going to just I'm going to make an array of, because at the moment I've got list of sizes, list of identified list of locations, but I kind of want them all together. I want to take them from our struct of arrays to an array of structs, sort of, so that we can just quickly rip through those every time there's a save. So I very rarely use this in JavaScript, but I'm going to use a map. How reckless of me. So we can now iterate over the state buffers, and then we're going to get the next Let's get the next identifier out first. Now, we do actually want to make sure that, we're doing like, although it's unlikely this validation to be tripped, this is virtually going to be used for other games and stuff. So we want to make sure that the identifiers kind of match. Well, we're not, say, pulling out two things with the same identifier. So the identifier is basically just a number so that when the game starts back up and it goes, can I have number 3, please? You're like, yeah, sure. You can have, maybe let's say the player's HP or something like that. But of course, that means if you have two pieces of information on the same identifier, you don't know which one is which. So first of all, if the state has the identifier, then throw a new error. So identifier, and then it's, what's it going to be called? Okay, so that's the start. That's good. Otherwise, we then need to get the size, and we can do some basic validation on that. Like, it should never be 0. If it's 0, something's gone a bit wrong. But if it's 0, nothing's actually happened, so that's fine. So now we've got the location and the size, and now we need to verify that that location fits in memory. So that's simple enough. We've got, just going to rip this out because that's going to be useful to us. So if the location plus the size is kind of escapes the memory that is statically allocated, that's when we throw there. What did I put the error message on this? Overlaps the end of memory. Okay, otherwise we can now get a pointer. So we can go state and we can set the identifier to a new array. And how are we going to do this? We're going to go from, I think, I'm just a bit fuzzy on this one, I've done this a few times. Yeah, memory.buffer, there we go. And then we have a location and we have a size, dead easy. Okay, and that should actually, because it's a bit confusing because I always expect when I make a new array that, you know, it makes new storage for the array. What that actually does is it records a pointer-ish. So if you read that array later on, it'll actually have whatever the latest state is from the game. And if we write to it, again, it will have the latest state from the game. 1 second. Okay, so next up we need to actually check if there's any state that we saved in the last session. And we also need to verify that it's compatible. Now, of course, if the game just changes its internal description of what's in the piece of state, nothing we can do about that because we know nothing about what any of these bytes mean from this angle. We just care about the fact that, you know, number 3 is so many bytes long, it's at that address. So we need to check. I'm thinking I'm going to use local storage for this. Local storage is generally pretty good. So yeah, how are we going to do this? I'll just use JSON for now. It'll be horrendously inefficient. I will put in a to-do and never revisit it probably. In terms of storage space. And let's get the text from local storage. It's local storage.get item. And I'm going to put this in a variable somewhere, I think. Am I? I could do. Am I going to do that? I just want to have a mechanism somewhere for injecting, might be in the scripts file here, injecting things like that into here. Yeah, I think I'll inject it in here. So I've got this kind of ugly mechanism where I'm doing stuff like this, right? There we go. Insert local storage key here. That'll do. So if it comes back null, then I think you can only store like strings and null in there. It's like, yeah, I know what's in there. It's like, okay, can I see some details of that Visual Studio Code? No. Right, so if it's not null, we know we've got something back. We can then deserialize it. And then we need to have a look at what came out, and we need to compare it with the state buffers we actually have. Make sure they're all the same length. Make sure that the identifiers match, so we don't have, like, say, because it could cause like some kind of weird corruption if you like updated some buffers but not others. Maybe. No, I think I'll do like an optimistic thing where I fill all the ones I can. Okay. What am I doing here? Oh, yeah. So, yeah, we're just gonna have an identifier in there. And if the size matches, let's just pull it out first. Actually, it's more efficient just to, what's kind of weird, right, is that like map has like functions like has, but not actually that useful generally speaking. It's usually better just to get the item out and then check if something came out of it. Oh, great, it returns any. I just wanted to know whether it returns null or not, dude. Does it return null or does it return undefined? Because I guess. Okay, so we've got a buffer. And we can check that against the size of the entry. Okay, so we now know that we have compatible data. Now we copy it over. Okay, that's really simple. And next up, we do the opposite here. So we set an item. Okay, we need to go through all of those state buffers and we need to make like a JSON object out of them. So this is going to complain unless I put braces around it because it's annoying. I think we can do this. Yeah, that'll do. Oh, I don't actually need to store the size in there because you can just check the length of the data. Why did I do that? Now, how do I get that as an array of just an ordinary JavaScript array? Should we just try it anyway and see what happens? See what it saves. It might actually do exactly what I want. Okay, I'm just going to flick back around to here. Yeah, we don't need to store the size separately. We're already storing it. So let's build that and see what happens. Oh yeah, I didn't actually write the script that inserts this. That would have been a good idea, wouldn't it? Where's the nasty bit of this? Here it is. Ah, that's right. Yeah, I had sort of cache busting and all sorts in here. Gross. This is gross. Don't code like this. Save yourself. Don't know if there's any conventions at all for local storage keys, but this is mine. Okay, let's build, see what happens. The one nice thing is we'll hopefully be able to see it put some stuff in an array in the browser when we finish this scene. I think it'll be in here. Here it is, yeah. Yep, get for this cutscene fast as possible. Right, fly past the window. Right, now that should open local storage around it. There it is. And what it's done isn't great. Rather than putting in an array, it's done this. It's made an object with the keys. But that's not bad. Now if I restart, it doesn't work. Oh, don't you love it? Well, it doesn't work just yet, but we'll figure it out. To normal array? Does that find anything good? Oh, that'll do. Yeah, arrayed up from. There we go. Good old arrayed up from. Okay, next question is why didn't it actually work? So we can put some... Hang on, where's it gone? Ah! Oh, the length won't have matched. Of course, yeah, the length won't have matched because it wasn't an array, so it won't have a length. Ah, okay. Let's go back to storage. Let's have it ready to view. Okay. It should fly away, and this should... That didn't do anything, did it? No, that didn't do anything. Why did it not do anything? Does it need refreshing before it applies? No. I did save this, didn't I? Interesting. Let's just try that again. Oh my god. Desperately need this feature to be able to skip this cutscene. Come on. It'll also mean when I start testing like more complex, kind of like cross-scenario state, I can do it through editing the state directly in here. Okay. There we go, it worked that time. So yeah, now we've got like a nice array in there. So we've got identify 0. Let's just double check what's actually in the state. I don't remember. All right, so... Oh. Yes, that there is actually the script number 1. And the other one is wherever the angels revealed their name, which is currently 0. So if we refresh... Didn't work. Why didn't it work? Well, let's start logging this out, see if we can figure out what's going on. Oh, I've just thought. Let me check something. Is it possible that it only replaced the first instance when we did the build? Yes, I think it did. I think we have to do that for it to replace all of them. So it might just work after I've done this because it will have replaced all of them. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Hey, state recovery is working. Now we'll be able to do some fun stuff like we can put it into states that are literally impossible, like that one, which will crash it immediately because like it's going to be like, yeah, unrecognized script, got it into a state that shouldn't be able to be in. But we can then revert back. This will take us back to the apartment. Yeah, this is good. Yeah, this means that we can, just by editing the data in here, we can kind of start the game up in any state we want. Which, yes, is what we want. So, I'm just going to commit that because that's actually a big deal. I'm going to be careful not to commit any kind of like other hacks I've currently got in here to work around various mistakes on my part. But yeah, there will be better ways of storing that because you can put any arbitrary string in local storage and you'll be able to pack that way smaller. Not that the local storage for this particular game is likely to get large, but some things I plan on doing in this engine eventually will do. So, state advance, yep, that needs to go in. That needs to go in. Those two need to go in. Where else are we going? And that needs to go in. Okay. I'm really happy with that. I thought that feature would take a lot longer to do than that. Next up, we need to actually make some things happen in this cutscene. So we're going to have the angel kind of like fly over the back and land, and then they're going to kind of like separate out again, have a bit of a conversation about what's actually happening here. Yeah, let's go to the rooftop script. At the moment we don't have any kind of actors in here. Let's just copy pasted stuff left over from the previous scene. That's fine. I was wondering if there might be like a clean, because like most scripts in this are going to be very, very simple. I wonder if it might be worth, if I end up making a lot of scenes, come up with something like intermediate language that compiles to C or something. Might be overkill though. Okay, so now we want to spawn our angel. And import their animations. And also the protagonists while we're here, we're going to need them eventually. And also bring in their mesh component. So let's have a look at the scene in Blender. We're going to want to be like, let's see, there, so like 5 out, and then they're going to land, but 2.5 out. So let me just make notes of that. And they're going to be negative because Blender's camera space is weird and Z is negative ahead of you for some reason. Okay, so now we need to create our entity. Oh yeah, something else just occurred to me. I should put a note in here. Oh, that's actually new functionality, isn't it? Yeah, I added the ability to kind of like do a transition with a callback. So I'm just going to commit that now. But it does have a bug in that there's a single frame in which the next transition doesn't play. So I think I might know where that problem actually lies though. I think it might actually be in here because the transition is like the last thing to go in, which isn't actually ideal because it means that it might say, right, yeah, what's actually happening? Hang on, just thinking about this. The transition, no, that should be fine. Because like it means that it's drawing the transition after it's kind of like layered everything else on top, and then after it's drawn everything, and it shouldn't even matter, that's when it's actually swapping out the scene to the next one. Both of those frames should be completely black. It's probably some ordering thing. It'll probably take me like an hour to figure out next time. Let's create a, let's see over here. Good. And what do we say? Was it like, it's -5 out, wasn't it? And I'm not going to rotate them at all. And we're going to not scale them at all. And then we're going to have them on the default sort of animation. I've not brought in the component for that, have I? No. And then basic sort of carrying the protagonist animation. And we don't care about what happens when the animation ends, so we're just going to loop it. Oh yeah, that needs to be a pointer, not an actual value. Yeah? Yeah, there we go. So if I then make that, obviously you have the right terminal open, doesn't it? It should pop. Okay, so let's lower him down a bit, say minus 1 meter, that might be enough. Yep, he's out of sight. So next up we want the animation really kind of, yeah. Think about the best way to do it. It's going to be like a sine wave with like a little bit of offset, just so it starts lower and then it kind of gets slightly higher as the animation progresses. So we're going to need a timer component for that. Bring that in. Yeah, all the little bits and pieces needed to make a basic cutscene are kind of here now, so I can just sort of build things. It's actually quite nice. Timer component. No, I want to create one. We're going to attach it to the angel, and it's not going to have a parent component ID. You know, it's so rare I actually want to give a component a parent ID that I'm actually considering making it something you do after creating it. Yeah, it's basically always an internal implementation detail, some other component, which means it shouldn't really be like my consideration 90% of the time. Okay. We don't need to pass in any arbitrary data. And this is where we're going to be advancing it. And so we're going to be landing it. Now, how many frames? Let's go for 120. Let's make it nice and slow so we can see what's going on while we're making it. Let's go to the neighboring files. I don't quite remember what the calling convention was. I never can. There it is. I'm going to rename these to match. And what do you know? They're actually doing like some animation stuff anyway, so we can reuse that. Okay. Am I bringing in the math header? No, I'm going to need that for trigonometry. Okay, so we're starting from like over there. Yeah, so we're starting from -1, and then we're going to use a sine wave, and we're going to do half an arc. We're going to do like half a circle, so that's pi radians, and so multiplied by 2. So just taking a 2 meter hop over the wall, and we're going to have -5 plus 2.5. Yeah, that'll probably do. Oh yeah, and I also want to keep a reference to this, don't I? I want a reference to that to the model matrix, so I can use it right now. I can retrieve it each time. This is when we're getting quite a few global variables that don't necessarily do a lot. Compiler might be smart enough to do something like with that, but I very much doubt it. Yeah, it almost certainly couldn't now that I think about it. Okay, let's see what that does. Oh, I might also want a bit of like a ramping on it so it slows down as it kind of like reaches the ground. We'll find out. Ah, I might also make him crouch as he lands, like he's absorbing the shock. Okay, that was pretty good. Let's speed it up like 50%. And the camera at the moment isn't that great. Yeah, I might just make the camera kind of tilt slightly as he kind of rises up. So that's the position, isn't it? Hang on. Yeah, okay. I couldn't remember what the last argument was. That's the field of view or the sensor size or something. Okay, I want to go for, say, half a radian. That's probably gonna... let's go for, say, 1.2 radians. That'll probably look about right. This might go backwards and I have to flip it. And when he lands, let's make him play a slightly different animation. Okay, that should make him do a nice little sort of impact landing thing. Oh, no, that was way too much camera movement. What am I doing? Let's try 1/10 for that, see if we can see what happened there. I think something really strange happened. That's about right. Right, and then let's set a timer and have it so that after that timer, is going to split into two objects and they're going to part very slightly. Okay, that should make him sort of get back up from the crouch after he lands. Oops. Or it could not. Nope, that doesn't seem to be working, does it? Oh. I just made him play the same animation. Well, that didn't work, did it? Obviously not. There we go. And let's shorten that slide to, say, 15. And then we're going to set another timer. And we are then going to have the two separate apart slightly. Okay, so we have all this again for the protagonist. Now, a difference, I think I'm actually going to have them like separate differently just to kind of demonstrate that they are very different people. Like the angel will just sort of like back away without any kind of like real effort, whereas like the elderly man will kind of like shuffle away and then have to turn around, just to kind of like give a bit more kind of, you know, personality and character. Coming up on time though. Okay, so make them rotate. I'm trying to figure which the right axis is and how much. It's the kind of thing probably a lot easier with a visual editor. I am not oblivious to that. Also, I want to change the angel's animation so he's no longer holding the man who I've just spawned a separate entity for. Okay, let's see what that looks like. Oh, that was unexpected. Oh yeah, that needs to be negative. And also I can see that I'm going to need to negate that angle. Okay. Yeah, that looks a bit weird right now because they're kind of, yeah, but the fact they're intersecting will actually be fine in context. I might adjust them very slightly though. Okay, let's see if we can just get this done in the next few minutes because that'll be like a big, that'll be something I can stick on Twitter at least. I've had almost like no pictures or anything on Twitter for a long time because it's all been under the hood engine work rather than anything even remotely actually interesting. They're going to walk apart and then they're going to turn towards the city, I think, because then they're going to look over it and the camera's going to kind of rise over the back of them and they're going to talk about, the whole affair. Okay, so that should make them walk away from each other slightly, and I'm actually going to have them face the same. Like I said, the angel's just going to back up. They don't need to look. They don't really need to know look what they don't really need to look where they're going, whereas the protagonist kind of does. And then they're going to reach their destination, and we're going to swap the protagonist animation out. Where's the code that does that? There it is. Let's see how that looks, or if it even compiles. Oh yes, I didn't give it advance warning. I was going to be defining a function. I think I can turn that requirement off, and I think I might because it's actually quite annoying. Okay. Oh, that looks a lot weirder than I was expecting. Okay. Okay, let's try and fix this a bit. Let's make them separate way less than that. That's way too much separation. And let's speed it up quite a bit. And their initial separation is going to be a lot less as well. Yeah, that'll do, I think. Oh, actually. I'm actually just going to separate them on the z-axis instead. I think that makes way more sense. Yeah, so if I push back the... If I bring the protagonist closer and I push the angel back slightly, I'm going to swap those around. Actually kind of confusing that the character we spawned second was first in the list. And I'm also going to rotate the angel slightly. Hang on, I've got confused. This one. um, man, that's some real that's some real math being done there. Let's have a look. Okay, there's going to be a slight pause, and then the old man's going to turn around to face him, and then they're both going to face the city. And then we can probably call that done for tonight. So yeah, we have a slight delay, and I'm going to execute this next callback that just starts a very simple sequence that gets them turning towards one another. And we're only doing the protagonist, that's fine. And that'll do. Then again, we need to give it advance warning that we're declaring a function for some reason. I really thought Wasm allowed us to just like have the game loop embedded in the script. It'd make it so much easier to read rather than having all these callbacks. Will that build? Or it build? It built? Okay, let's have a look. Put them down. Oh, I think we need to rotate slightly more than that. Let's go for more than that. And let's speed it up very slightly. And let's also actually just reduce the delay there. You want a bit of a pause, just as kind of like it looks like they're kind of thinking before they're turning. But not too much that it's a slow paced cutscene. Okay, and then we're going to have that moment of pause. And then we're going to have these extra callbacks just for them turning to face the city. I might raise the camera slightly as it's kind of a bit too close to the ground here. It's a bit weird. And then I need to go find wherever I put the angel. Okay, is it minus 2.6 and 0.1? It's otherwise in a very similar location. Okay, and then how have I got them rotated? I've got them rotated to 0.5. That might work, or it might go completely wrong. They want me to find out. Honestly, I'm surprised it built first time. Oh my god, I got it right first time. I can't, I struggle to believe that. It's real. And I'm just going to have a very simple just test line dialog here just so we can have like a bit of dialog on screen. I think I had that entity helpers thing, didn't I? And I'm also going to want the list component. Oh no, I'm not actually going to need the list component, not yet. So we can attach it to the angel and the standing head location. The name. I'm not going to have a callback when we dismiss it just yet. And yeah, that's right, we're going to have them animate. Yeah, I forgot about this. It's all coming back to me. Oh yeah, and these need to be pointers, don't they? Okay. Let's get that in. Hey, that worked first time. That's kind of weird. So, like I said, I'm going to raise the camera slightly. Currently got it 1 meter off the deck. Let's go for, say, 1.3. Does that look any less weird? Does that break all the camera alignment during the flyover? Let's find out. Okay, I might also make a bit of an adjustment to the initial rotation when they kind of like separate. The reason is it kind of looks a bit weird that they're both kind of like, you know, there's no transition from them facing the same way to facing kind of away from one another. Here we go, here's the code that separates them. Let's give that a try, see what happens. That'll do. Timing's a bit weird. Timing's going to need a bit of adjustment, but that's actually kind of okay. Wow, I'm 15 minutes over. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you have a great evening, and I'll see you some other time.